From the moment that you told your wife you wanted to be a filmmaker, what immediate changes did you make in your life?
In terms of craft, or trying to understand it, was reading and studying everything I could about writing, about you know, how it's structured, or how you format, and just the basics of things. So I kind of took it as my own way of making my own school, you know, of like, I want to learn this. This is interesting. You know, I just can't, you know, write on a napkin or legal pad. I just wanted to see if that, you know, I guess I could, but I didn't. So the changes I made was really making a commitment to trying to get better at it. It wasn't a thing that I said, this is going to be a career. It was a thing that was like, I just wanted to do it, you know. So I didn't know if it was even going to be something feasible. That didn't even cross my mind. It gave me something that I could wake up and do and challenge myself. And I think I just never reached a point where I was frustrated enough to quit. I think that was what the screenwriting, because obviously once you have a script, then you needed to, you know, produce the thing. So you have to shoot the thing, and then I think I just got I just try to do it all because it seemed fun. You know, call my friends up or my family and go, hey, could you just, you know, could we just spend this weekend and do this, and then that's how it all began. You know, just to see if I could do it from start to finish. So and when I did a short film, it was fun. It was I liked the whole process, the storyboarding, the getting people together, mapping things out, and seeing the words come alive from actors or family members. I don't know if I would call them actors, but they were gracious enough to help me out. So.
You said previously you went to a bookstore that was in Texas. Sorry, was it in Dallas or where was it?
Yeah, Dallas.
Oh, okay.
And it was it's called Half Price Books,
Nice.
which people would sell back their books, and it had, you know, you could get all these books for really, really, you know, cheap and things like that. So I would buy a whole bunch of like books on directors, books on. I think I got that Robert Rodriguez book there, the Rebel book, and then I got tons of other things, and then I would search for scripts online to read. You know, thank goodness for the internet. I mean, it's like you could just get anything you want, and you know, and that's what that's what helped me. You know, just trying to learn and get better.
Were there other writers in the Dallas area, or was that something that was not part of the culture at that time?
There's, you know, I've always had, I always wish I was able to be more gregarious or get involved more with the community, or specifically the film community or theater. I just wasn't able to do that at that point, because I think I didn't know where I was headed myself. So I just started just to write. I think it was such an isolating and freeing thing. But I really didn't meet too many other filmmakers at the time, because I didn't think I was one. I was just trying to write, you know, and figure it all out. I sort of did the same thing with my photography career, and you know, there's many ways where you could go. You could become an assistant, you can do this. I just wrote a business plan and called myself a photographer, and shot as many things as I can, weddings and things I could, and figure out lighting and all that kind of stuff. And then I think I work better that way. It might not be the right way, but at least I could kind of like understand what I'm doing wrong. But I you know, oftentimes I wish I did have a mentor or a group and go, hey, what's my second act sucks. Why am I always drowning in this? And they could say, hey, you don't have this. There's not a defined goal. There's this, blah, 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 blah. But I was really honest, because if you read a script like Ordinary People, if you read a script like Leaving Las Vegas, and then you read your script, you got to be sort of honest and go, it's not close yet. You got to work on that. How come I can't, why am I turning each page like these other scripts that I love? And that was the same thing when I was a photographer. When I looked at photos in the magazines, I had to go, to be a photographer or working photographer, the hard truth is my photos have to look as good or better than this. So until I was able to do that and gain the confidence, I was just hard on myself in that way. So I just got to get better, whether it took 2 days or 2 years or 15 or 10. I was ready to put in that, because I don't know why. You just kind of like keep going, and because you wanted to get better, I think. So I took the same approach with filmmaking and screenwriting. I wanted to write scenes that made me turn the page myself. Yeah.
Do you think it's okay to just not be part of a group? There's a lot of pressure, especially in Western culture, to be part of a group and join something and do all that. And that's great. Some people really rise to the occasion. I think some people are better just by themselves internally.
Yeah, I think it's up to your personality, and I think you need to find that balance. It's like sort of like dieting, I guess. It's like you can't do one extreme, especially with filmmaking. Writing itself is so alone, but the filmmaking process is so collaborative. So you need to work with others and be able to do that. So that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't wanted to strictly be a writer. I wanted to work with other people, but I love the isolation of the writing process. But now I've learned the beauty of rewriting and the input of other people and getting notes and getting hey, this is, you gotta get into it faster. You got to do this. Oh, this is maybe not so right for the story. So I like taking notes because it gets me to think of other things. Because when you're writing for a script, it could take you 3, 6 months, 4 months, whatever. You're so alone, and maybe that's why other people have writing partners, so you could bounce ideas. But to get notes, it gives me an idea. Oh, I never thought about that. Let me plug that in, and maybe I could come up with something else. It's pretty freeing for me to do that, and not take it personal, and maybe I'm just more optimistic that people are telling you this not because they don't want you to make a crappy story. It's because they think it could help, and it's your job to synthesize all that information and see if it does. I think that's what happens. That's even being a director, because you get so much information and so many decisions you have to make, and you have to make it within split seconds sometime. And hey, is this makeup too heavy? Hey, what's the color of that clothes? Or is this location work? Are we going to do another take? Does the actor feel safe? Things, it just happens so much. So you really have to be on your toes and be adaptable. I think that's a vital skill even for screenwriters, is to be adaptable and to take notes well.
And feedback, criticism.
And just get back to work and take it. And you know what? You could do it. You can make a version of the notes. You could do it. And if you don't like it, you go back to the previous version and continue that way. But at least you shouldn't have if you follow that process, for at least for me, I wouldn't have a writer's block, because someone gave you a door. Go to this door. It might not be the right door, but you get to go through it. So you could write that out, and you're like, it didn't feel right, or maybe maybe I'm missing that scene. We need to add that scene in again. So it's an interesting process. It's definitely sculpting, you know, you could continuously keep writing. It's weird. Maybe it's funny just to drop the pen and stop writing, because I'll reread the script constantly, or the first page, the first line, and go, I gotta stop. And I'm a little obsessive now. I take a break, and even the rhythms, I would read it out loud, the feel of the words flow, right? So that's what because I would imagine if I was a reader, if I was reading this, and if it's boring, or that exposition's too long, or the scene heading's too long, I need to cut that out, So that's sort of my process lately, is cutting. I think that's being an editor, because I edit as well, so you get used to cutting pieces together.
Looking back on it now, do you think you made the right choice for yourself, choosing the filmmaking path, knowing that you wanted to challenge yourself? It sounds like you don't compete with others. You kind of are very much about challenging yourself. Maybe I'm wrong.
If I think about it, and I'm very lucky to be able to make that choice and feel like it is the right choice. Certainly, it's not the easiest of paths to take. It's not like if you go get your bachelor's and you get your master's or PhD, and then you do your residency and you do this, and you pass a license, that you're going to be a psychologist. There isn't like routes, and there isn't a structure that even determines that you are. So there was blind faith. I think it's just more of like you do something, and then you get obsessed about it, and you do everything you can to make it happen. I think that's just what happened to me. And filmmaking ended up being a medium I was drawn to, because I kind of failed at everything else. I wanted to be a musician, and that didn't work out. I wanted to be a writer, that didn't work out. And I got into photography, and I got this, and I was like, wow, you could combine that all, and that's what filmmaking is called. I never even knew that was possible, So once I knew that the possibilities of it maybe I felt like a kid again. I was like, so I think that's what drove me in telling a story visually, with music, with sound. That was I was hook, line, and sinker, and coming up with stories each time, and developing that, and then now working with actors, working with art department, working with the crew, you're like, whoa, this is awesome. You asked me before about being isolated, but now you get to get out of your hibernation and then play with everyone. I think that's the fun part about filmmaking.
And I think you said just off camera, you knew what you didn't want, and so that's an interesting lesson.
Exactly. I was very good at that. I maybe didn't know what I want, but I knew what I didn't want. And that's the same thing with, like, if I compose something in a frame, I know I didn't want that in the frame. I don't want that in a frame. So what is it that's left in the frame? So I took a similar approach. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want to have regrets. I didn't want to, because I had those before. I wasted time. I wasted this. I didn't have confidence. I didn't have these things. And so when I started, like you asked, I just started one day at a time to see if I enjoyed it. And then if I didn't, I probably would have been obsessed with making ramen noodles. That would be the next thing. How do you make those noodles? How do I get it right texture? Oh, is this broth right? Okay, then you want to sell it. Then you want to do it. So I probably would have been obsessed with something else if I didn't, fall in love with filmmaking.